welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking about this beautiful tradescantia rhoeo plant. I can't pronounce it, but the name is on the screen. This is a really beautiful plant. There's really many varieties of this. Is variety when it's just purple, the back is purple and the front is just plain green. I have the tricolor variety, and it's in the name, means three colors, and I have three colors like pink color and purple at the back and some green. Let me just show you, like this one, pink and green, and as you can see at the back, all leaves there are purple color. So really easy to care for plant, really beautiful. And in this video I'm going to talk you through about pest diseases, toxicity, fertilizing, watering, temperature, everything including, so that you have successful growing this plant. So I'm going to tell you about the care about this plant, for how you can grow it successfully. I have two of these. I'm growing this from cuttings from this mother plant. I'm going to just show you. As you can see, this is the mother plant. Doesn't look a mother plant because it's really small, and this is because let me just show you. I cut this mother plant from there are many cuts, like as you can see there are cuts here, there's cuts everywhere. So, like I cut it like to here when I took cuttings, and this was because it became really laggy and it was hanging. So I needed to cut it and make a beautiful plant like that. That's a really big plant now in a plastic bottle container. I made holes under it, and it's a like 15 centimeter diameter pot, and it's really big plant, really beautiful. I'm really glad that I actually cut it and took many cuttings late summer last year. I may do it same with this one. When this grows bigger this year, I may cut it back and make another pot of tradescantia rhoeo plant. So I'm going to talk you through about the care for this plant now. I'm having a table nearby, so I need to put the plants on the ground. So firstly, let's talk about the watering. So this plant is actually, from my experience, this plant is actually a really thirsty plant, and it really wants water. As you can see, it's in a transparent plastic bottle pot, I'm going to call it now, and it then needs really much water because it's in the west facing window, and west facing window gets a lot of sun afternoon, like 8 hours sun, direct sunlight, and it doesn't burn. And what happens, it needs more water as the soil gets heated up and warm because of this transparent pot. And this means that this plant needs actually really much water. So from my experience, I water it actually every week or so, but I water really thoroughly, therefore I water it every week. If you water it like really in a small amount, you need to water it every 3 to 4 days. So that's a really good practice when you water it every 3 to 4 days. If you don't want to water really much and water it every week like I do, because I water it every week when it's dry, and you don't need to, and you're not going to actually have the soil dry. If the soil is on the dry side, the leaves are going to become really mushy and really, soft because of lack of water. And as you can see, the soil is actually partially dry for mine, so I need to water this plant. But today is the day of fertilizing all my indoor plants. I fertilize on a daily 2-week schedule. All my indoor plants, I need to fertilize all of my plant anyway, so therefore I'm going to water all of my plant after this video. This plant requires, as I said, water. It's really thirsty. It doesn't mean that you're going to water it every day, then it will obviously die because of root rot, and you're going to water it just a little bit every week or so, because that plant is really thirsty in the summer but goes dormant and doesn't grow so much in the winter. So now let's talk about the temperature. As with all plants and indoor plants, this plant requires a temperature, minimum temperature of 15 degrees centigrade inside your home. If you live in a warm climate like in South Asia, you can plant it outside in the garden under trees and things like that, because this plant requires 15 to 20 degrees centigrade. And I live in UK. In UK we don't have 15 degrees centigrade all year long. We only have it in the summertime and inside our homes. So therefore this is a house plant for people living in those climate like I do. And it requires, but it doesn't require too hot temperature, because too hot temperature can make this plant lose its colors, its beautiful colors, which actually attracts us to buy this plant. So if you have really hot temperature, this plant doesn't love it. This plant will get like dull and really soft again because of lack of water. And it doesn't help because it doesn't need too much humidity as well. 40% is okay for this plant, but it doesn't need too hot temperature as well, as this plant can go soft and eventually crisp up and die. So now let's talk about the light requirement. So the plant needs much light to able to produce these leaves with beautiful colors. So I mentioned that I actually cut this plant to make this beautiful big tradescantia rhoeo plant. So I cut it because it got leggy, and the legginess is due to lack of light. When the plant gets really not much light, the plant gets like really long stems in search of light, and then it gets leggy and doesn't look beautiful as well, and that's not the original shape of this plant anyway. So I needed to cut it, and I put it back or make many cuttings. I first put these cuttings in water. So much of the roots came out, and then I planted in this big pot. All of them were successful. All of the cuttings, really easy to grow from cuttings as well. So therefore I needed to actually have a good I needed to cut it because it got leggy because of low light. So you need to have your plant in full sunlight, but not direct sunlight like south facing window. I have this in east facing window. It gets smaller leaves, but still it gets really good amount of sunlight. This one has bigger leaves, really beautiful colors, is because it's in west facing window. So as you can see, if you have also in low light, it will lose its colors. Like before I had it in the west facing window. Let me just show you the colors. The colors were like plain green on the top and not so beautiful at the back as well, also plain green actually. So I cut it, put it in west facing window, and therefore it got some beautiful colors. As well as this, look at this leaf. This has almost all of this is pink, really pretty, because it's a west facing window. So I recommend you to put in west facing window, but a filtered light from a very thin curtain that filters the light so that it doesn't burn the leaves of this beautiful rhoeo plant. Let's talk about the last things, that is fertilizing, toxicity, pests and diseases. Firstly, let's talk about the fertilizer. As I said, I have 2 weeks schedule of fertilizing my indoor plants, as well as this. Every 2 weeks I fertilize my plant only in summertime, springtime and late or early autumn, and then I stop fertilizing these plants when they go dormant in winter time. So as I said, you need to read the label of your fertilizing pack, because you are going to fertilize it according to what the pack says. Mine says 2 to 3 weeks, and I fertilize it every 2 weeks. All of my plants, I'm going to fertilize it today after this video. So actually this is really easy to remember how to fertilize. Just read the label at the back of the pack, and that's it for fertilizing. So now let's talk about the toxicity. This plant is actually toxic. Because of its beautiful leaves, don't let you be attracted to its beautiful leaves and you know, no one would do that, but take a bite of this plant. No one would ever do that, but children could actually do that. They could actually chew on the leaves, because you know, children don't know, and they can just chew on everything they see. So you need to put it away from children where they cannot chew this plant, because this plant is highly toxic, and because of its sap, when you cut the leaves, let me show you if I have a dead leaf. I don't have a dead leaf. Let me show you. It's crispy leaves, but I don't see any dead leaf. But this plant actually gets out sap of the leaf when you cut it, and then if you chew it, you can have stomach problems and things like that. And if you actually do, call the hospital and go immediately to the hospital, because it's really important that you actually don't chew this plant. There are some plants that are doesn't toxic, but if you actually have children, I don't recommend you to buy this plant if you aren't going to place it at the top of a shelf or things like that. So that was it for toxicity. Let's talk about pest and disease. From my experience, I haven't seen any pest or any disease on this plant. Even though when before I moved here in England, I lived in Norway, and I had many plants there, and when I also had one of the rhoeo plants as well there. Therefore, I really love it and bought it here when I came here. It was surrounded by plants with mealybugs, and it didn't get one single mealybug. So I think that those plants actually doesn't get any pest or diseases. But if you have certainly get a problem, just research it, or you can actually take your plant to the local nursery and ask what the disease or the thing you're looking for in this plant is. So this is actually for the pest or diseases. I haven't experienced any pest or diseases, but if I do, I will certainly tell you, and then I would actually spray it with neem oil or any pesticide for indoor plants. But I actually have stopped using pesticides. I don't think it's actually really good to use pesticides. So I would actually buy some neem oil and spray it with neem oil mix, or wipe the leaves, but no one would do that because there's too many leaves on this plant. So that's really easy to care for this plant. So I really hoping you to actually buy this plant, because it's really easy to care for. Just a reminder, it's toxic plant, but it's really easy to care for. So I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you later.